We're not able to hear you, Mr. Satish. You're on mute.
Mr. Sanjit Pandit, who is a global head for smart cities practice at Qualcomm Incorporation, USA, and who is responsible for career and ecosystem relationship in this domain. His expertise in the telecom industry spans over 20 plus years. He specializes in the area of smart city design, creation of smart vehicles, smart verticals, digital transformation, and go-to-market strategies, creating an experience that would benefit public and private domains and citizen engagements. Mr. Pandit has successfully launched the Qualcomm Smart Cities Accelerator program that brings all smart cities B2B providers under one roof and enables matchmaking in this domain. His efforts have enabled smart verticals and smart spaces, industrial concepts, globally that have resulted into quicker adoption into various industries and industrial verticals. He has developed various smart city revenue models in association with ecosystem partners, resulting in win-to-win situation for all parties. Sanjit has worked and created relationship with the smart city ecosystem partners, resulting in multiple smart cities projects globally. He held various senior positions at Qualcomm, and he was responsible for APAC and India business development prior to leading this smart city vertical. Sanjit is going to chair this panel discussion and introduce other panelists. Over to you, Sanjit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very good evening to the panelists from the US. A very good morning to all the viewers and also the organizers. And it's an honor and pleasure today to be chairing this session on behalf of the IESA organization. With me today, I have T.R. Ramchandran from Septon. I have Kishore sir from GMR Airport. And of course, we have Raghavan from MTK, my esteemed colleague here. All of them, you guys can smile a little bit, it's allowed, I guess. And would request you to unmute yourselves if you're on mute. And take maybe not more than 30 seconds to give yourselves, which area within, say, Septon, MTK, and Kishore sir. I guess everyone knows you, so you might want to also give a quick update regarding how you're doing in GMR. Quick introduction from each one of you, and we'll jump right in. I think TR, maybe you could kick off. Thanks.
Sure. Thanks, Sanjit. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate being part of this panel. I'm T.R. Ramachandran. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Septon. Septon is one of the top Lidar companies in the world. We focus a lot on the automotive side of the business, but also in areas like smart cities and smart spaces. And we provide Lidar solutions as well as full perception solutions. So we work with a lot of customers and partners that are in the areas like, traffic intersections, railways, commercial and public spaces, safety and security in many of these markets.
Thank you. Thank you. Raghavan, quick rundown from your side.
Sure, Sanjit. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to IESA and the organizing committee. My name is Raghavan Sampath, and it's my honor and pleasure to be on this panel. I currently work at MediaTek. MediaTek is currently providing system and solutions for smart cities, such as the communication infrastructure network for 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. 5G global deployments in India coming soon. We also provide Wi-Fi solutions, narrowband IoT, and wired infrastructures like PON and Ethernet-based solutions. So typically, MediaTek is offering the backbone for smart city deployments, AI and smart city deployments. Thank you, Sanjit.
Thank you, Raghavan. Kishore, sir, please.
Thank you, Sanjit. This is Kishore. I'm the Executive Director and the Chief Innovation Officer of the GMR Group. And I was also an IAS officer, so I'm an ex-bureaucrat. Coming to the GMR Group, as you all know, it's one of the leading global infrastructure players, especially into the airports. We design, develop, and operate the airports. Today in India, Delhi and Hyderabad, two airports, major airports, which almost cater to 40% of the traffic, civil aviation traffic, what we have, we handle them. And we are also in the technology forefront as to how we can adopt various emerging technologies into the aviation industry, and hence enhancing the passenger experience and increasing the efficiencies. So it is a privilege to be a part of this panel. I think I'm the odd man out because I'm not a technology man, in the sense that I'm not producing any products for artificial intelligence or any of these things. But I think I can give you what is the sort of opportunities the industry has for this industry, how in the next few years, in the coming decade, how this will entirely revolutionize the whole way each player, each stakeholder in the ecosystem operate. Thank you, Sanjit.
Thank you so much, sir.
I was going to say, Mr. Kishore, you're the reason why some of us have jobs. So
I would second that. Thank you. See, it has been said that the global market for smart cities in general is going to grow to about $500 billion by 2027 with a CAGR of about 25%, and that is huge. And smart cities and smart connected spaces, as we terminalize this, categorize this, or containerize this offering, can be looked at in various ways when it comes to every particular market or city. In some countries, a smart city could be just basic sanitization and roads and just water. In some cities, like Singapore, Taiwan, Korea, it could be a completely different paradigm when it comes to smart cities and smart connected spaces. But one thing we cannot deny is the growth of AI in this domain. And Raghavan, I will start with you. Where exactly you feel today, how much of as a silicon vendor, how much of a importance are you giving in terms of design, adaptation, embedding some of the engines in your offerings when it comes to AI? And how is that getting translated by some of your end customers?
Sure. Thanks, Sanjay. As you rightly mentioned, the smart city definition varies from city to city based on the needs. And for example, I'll be specific to some of the India requirements, right? Sure. So look at Delhi. Delhi has huge air pollution, right? So Delhi needs some of the sensors where you can get the data of air quality index in real time. And you need to ensure that you have air purifiers, go solar, electric vehicles, adopt renewable energy, and reduce carbon emissions. So typically, smart city and the governments are looking at making the life of a common man, the ease of living, comfort, convenience, right? So in order to address these requirements, you require a lot of gadgets and connectivity, right? For example, the air quality sensor connected to internet, feeding the real-time data of the air quality itself, right? So what we do is at MediaTek, we provide the necessary chipset with the artificial intelligence coprocessor. So what does these artificial intelligence coprocessors do typically? So they run the algorithms which are fed by the OEM or the original equipment manufacturer in terms of various data crunching. So you have several algorithms which run on the coprocessors, does the data crunching, feedbacks to the cloud, and the OEM or the government agency can take the necessary action. So they can predict probably 15 days later or 1 month later, how is the quality of the air. So I'm just giving one example of quality air, and it could span to surveillance, security, right? And smart mobility, traffic management. And it could also go into the utility management like smart meters for the electricity, gas, and water, smart parking. So the applications are numerous. So what we do is, so we provide the necessary backbone for the OEMs to implement these gadgets or these equipments in smart cities.
Great, great. And TR, knowing Cepton and the fact that you guys getting into a lot of sensor fusion and creating some unique requirements around traffic congestion, etc., on Lidar, where do you see the fine line between cameras and Lidars, and how do you differentiate, or do you guys even differentiate on the AI that you're running on this What portion are you doing on the edge? What is on the cloud?
Sure. If I may, I'd like to just maybe start with one sort of general concept, the way I think of a smart city, building on what Mr. Raghavan said, which is I like to think of a smart city as a construct where there's a combination of technology, data, and analytics to meaningfully improve the sustainability and quality of life of the residents of the city. So it could be health, security, safety, cost of living, or efficiency, right? Now, when we think of how LiDAR gets applied, and in the context of your question about cameras, for the benefit of some of the audience, LiDAR, light detection and ranging, it's essentially a sensor that provides a 3D, highly accurate 3D view of the environment, right? That's where it's the value of LiDAR comes in. And one of the key value points of LiDAR also is that it is anonymous. You can't identify people. So we see a lot of interest, especially in this age where people are getting worried about privacy with cameras. There's an interest of having LiDAR. But in terms of how we see the separation, it's pretty simple. It is any solutions where you need accurate 3D information and any solutions where that accurate information needs to be available 24/7, regardless of rain or sun, regardless of darkness or light, we see a very strong demand for LiDAR coming in. And it cuts across these different applications.
In case of a camera situation, the accuracy is anywhere in the 90s to maybe 99, depending upon light, shadow, images. How do you compare that accuracy in terms of AI with LiDAR?
Yeah, with LiDAR, I mean, at least the feedback from our customers is that for many of these applications, they need accuracies in the 99.99 or 99.96 type percent. And that's why they're very pleased with LiDAR. Obviously, LiDAR costs a little bit more today, but those prices are coming down very rapidly, and we are one of the companies making that price drop happen. So we very much see the adoption of LiDAR growing quite rapidly in many of these applications.
Perfect. So, Kishore sir, given the situation that companies like us, like Qualcomm and MTK and Cepton are making all this stuff, finally at the end of the day, it has to be deployed somewhere. I cannot come to you with a chip and say, Mr. Kishore, here's my chip. You're going to say, what am I going to do with your chip? I need a full end-to-end solution. So give me maybe one or two exciting use cases that GMR airports, you handle more than 40% of India's traffic between Bangalore and in Delhi. I mean, we cannot miss you when we come to India. So we have to come via your, via your channel. So what have you adopted so far? And where do you think this is going to take GMR to the next level, AI?
Yeah, Sanjit, before I talk about what GMR has done, some use cases, interesting use cases, technology, since the theme of today's panel discussion is artificial intelligence for smart cities. So I want to give you what is the immense opportunity which the industry has. If you see, smart city is an outcome. Artificial intelligence is the platform. So how do we use this platform to create smart cities? Like there are umpteen definitions of what a smart city means, but ultimately the bottom line is the quality of life in that particular city for the citizens should be of the topmost standard. So the importance of artificial intelligence in creating this outcome is very, very important. And if you see, artificial intelligence now percolates into all layers of digital technologies. It is not an entity by itself. It is all prevalent, omnipresent. That is how it is now transforming into. And currently, the artificial intelligence market is around $2.5 billion. And in 2023, it is supposed to go 10 times, around $30 million. So the $30 billion sort of opportunity we have. And most of the governments now have realized that they have to invest hugely into artificial intelligence. Not only the businesses, but the governments are also visualizing to enhance efficiencies, to create growth, and also create a best quality to their citizens. Investment into artificial intelligence is very, very important. And today, the artificial intelligence have implications in social sector, economic sector, political sector, manufacturing sector. So it is all prevalent 360 degree sort of impact artificial intelligence will create. And today, if you see, one of the estimates says that by 2035, if governments adopt artificial intelligence as a platform, enabling platform, and creating an open environment, by 2035, this could double the growth rates of the countries, the economic growth
Fantastic.
rates. So that is the sort of impact what artificial intelligence can really create. And like any progressive country, Indian government also has understood and appreciated the importance of artificial intelligence. And they have created a committee, an artificial intelligence standardization committee under the Department of Telecommunication, wherein how do we create a architecture for artificial intelligence so that it is not just closed end, but it is an open ended artificial general intelligence, so that different entities can talk to each other. So that is what they are coming out with, a standard Indian stack for artificial intelligence. This is what government is working, and businesses are also working on how do we enhance the, mainly the objective of adopting artificial intelligence is to see that service quality increases, process efficiencies increases, and your outreach increases. When I say outreach, for example, in healthcare, today India is a huge country and we have scarcity of experts, medical experts. Artificial intelligence can really ensure that the expertise which is there in the metropolitan areas and the urban areas go to the remotest rural area. So that is why outreach, the delivery of services can be made much more efficient. And if you
So, you,
see,
so you're saying primarily the artificial intelligence is cutting across multiple verticals with not just the cities, and that's where I'm saying you have to differentiate smart cities and smart connected space. A airport is a smart connected space. A campus is a smart connected space. A smart city may have some things which don't belong in, like the city may not have control over an airport. So it's not in the jurisdiction of an airport. So you're saying similarly, verticals, right, like healthcare and maybe governance, or even security, surveillance, national security. These things could be pretty much interlayered.
you take any sector, be it agriculture. Today, what is the problem in agriculture? The farmers really do not know what is the demand for a particular produce. So
Right.
artificial intelligence tools can tell you what is the sort of crop selection. They will help in crop selection. They will also advance warnings for pest attacks, improved logistics, improved warehousing. So there is immense potential. And that is why the importance of AI, why I'm talking about the artificial intelligence stack is, that is where every layer, it's a horizontal stack with 6 layers. And in every layer, industry is an opportunity. If you take the infrastructure layer, it is all cloud, distributed cloud. So all the cloud industries in the cloud systems will have a lot of opportunities, be it cloud or edge computing. You'll have a lot of this thing. There's a huge storage layer, warm data and hot data and cold data. Then there is a compute layer where data analytics, tracking technologies, your computer vision, these sort of things come. And then there is the application layer and the ultimate customer interface layer. So if you take all these 5 to 6 horizontal layers, which the government of India is coming as the India stack for AI, every segment there is an opportunity for the industry. So what I'm suggesting is industry should be cognizant that coming few years, this is the fourth industrial revolution, what AI is going to do. And right from sensors till computing abilities, processing, storage, analytics, natural language processing, huge opportunities will be there, and the industry should be geared up to seize this opportunity. That is what I wanted to do.
Great. So, sir, how does that translate into what GMR has done, maybe in 1 or 2 use cases at the airport? What have you taken? How are you helping the crowd management? What are the things that you guys have proactively worked on in AI?
Sanjay, thanks for that question, because if you talk about an airport, it's no longer just a transportation hub. It's a mini city. If
Absolutely.
you typically go to a new generation airport, which GMR was a pioneer as far as Indian airports are concerned, you have travel retail, you have security agencies, you have customs immigration, you have ground handlers, you have baggage handling, you have cargo. So each of these things today, what GMR has been doing is how do we bring in new technologies so that the ultimate bottom line is the user experience.
Absolutely.
Because today airports are gateways to countries, and every citizen feels proud when someone lands in a particular airport. It delivers the message what the country is about. If you have a
Absolutely.
shabby, dull airport, you will not get good vibes about that particular region or that particular country. So it's a matter of pride as well. It's a matter of
It's the
brand.
first it is the first impression. It is the first impression.
Absolutely. So what we have done is we started doing advocacy to the government agencies as well, saying that the new emerging technologies, be it AI, ML, data analytics, IoT, your blockchain, computer vision, these will enhance the security controls, not diminish them. So today, if you see a few years back, if someone comes to India, you have baggage tags which will be manually, physically inspected and and stamped by the security agencies. You have boarding cards which are being stamped. Now today, what we have done is we have removed all of them. GMR as an airport operator, we have advocated with the government security agencies, and we said we will use computer vision technologies,
Thank you.
not only processing that particular incident or event, but it will also give you the entire history. That is where again artificial intelligence will come into picture. So now almost most of the airports, we were the front pioneers in that. Now you don't have any stamping of boarding cards and any stamping of baggage tags. The other thing what now we are doing is how can we remove, especially after COVID, the new norm of travel, how can you dispense away with any paper documents? How can you make your face as your boarding card? So currently we are working with Government of India with a new initiative called Digi Yatra, wherein individuals can register themselves along with their security credentials. And once they register, it is self-registration. We're not storing this data somewhere in the cloud. It is self-registration, and as and when you travel, you can transmit your data to the airport, and the airport systems will talk to the airlines and departure control systems, and we see that using the face, the entire passenger journey will be seamless. So that is what we are biometric processing, passenger processing is what we are looking into. So this is one example where we are giving a better experience to the user. I'll give you one more example before I close. Is
Sure.
how do we increase the process efficiencies and enhance the safety of the travel? Like today in typical airport, entire airside daily there will be physical inspections of the runway,
Mhm.
wherein to see whether any foreign objects are there, whether the surface is clear for the aircraft to land, etc. So it's a very mandatory and a very important activity. Now what we are doing is we are trying to bring in drones or lidar technology, like what TR was mentioning, lidar technology, so that the entire inspection will be much more faster, much more comprehensive, and you also get a history of the surface, the pavement, what the hard and the flexible pavements which you have on the air side. You get an entire history how the pavement is deteriorating, when is the requirement for intervention. So this is one example use case where the traveler may not know, but it is happening in the back end. The
I
other
see.
thing is GMR has a maintenance repair facility for aircrafts. We were the first ones to put such a comprehensive facility for the maintenance and servicing of aircraft. Otherwise, all the Indian carriers aircraft used to go abroad. So this particular facility, what happens is when an aircraft gets inducted, physical inspection of the entire airframe of the aircraft will be done by an experienced person. So an experienced person with his lot of knowledge, he will find out where the problems of the airframe is there. But now, if you use drone and lidar technology is there, the individual experience will not count. It will be much more comprehensive. So the errors which will creep in an inspection of an aircraft at the surface of the aircraft will be much more comprehensive if you use AI technologies. So this is where what I'm trying to say is AI will become an essence of day-to-day activity. Today, you're using Siri, you're using Amazon Echo. All these things are natural language processing. They know what are your preferences. Today, if you go to an Amazon portal, it will take the artificial intelligence of your browsing patterns and will pop out. So in
Absolutely.
well, retail industries. Without we realizing, artificial intelligence is creeping into our day-to-day activities, and it's only a matter of time that artificial intelligence will be the common layer for any activity we do, and that is where governments and businesses and the industry, because the demand is there, but the industry doesn't cope up to cater to the demand, to bring in new innovations. That is where I think there is a huge opportunity. And just recently, we have started our innovation platform called GMR Innovex, which I am heading, wherein we want to create an ecosystem where industry players, startups, and other corporates, it's an open innovation platform. We can collaborate together to come out with new ideas, new products, new applications, which will help in improving the quality of the life what we are enjoying currently today, betterment of that, and enhance the process efficiencies.
Perfect. So, I'll take this opportunity to reach out to all the audience and all the people who are watching, to reach out to Mr. Kishore via the organizers if they have anything that they can offer, and be a part of this platform. Now, talking about platform, Raghavan, are you seeing, is your company moving towards a reference design, any kind of out-of-the-box solutions that maybe some smaller startup companies in India or anywhere in the world could take and have a faster time to market? What kind of activities have you guys put together? And is there some kind of a innovation lab or anything that you guys are working on?
Sure, Sanjit. Thanks a lot. As Mr. Kishore said, you would need solutions to install to enable smart airports or smart cities, right? So what we are doing is, in India, we are working with an ODM, the design partner, who has done a smart surveillance camera with complete analytics of face recognition, pattern recognition, behavior recognition of the individual. And everything is running on the edge. It's not on the cloud. So most of the time, going back to the cloud and retrieving the data and processing the information would be time critical. For example, boarding, right? In airports, as Mr. Kishore rightly said, you can't go always to the cloud and fetch the data. You have to do the edge processing. So with an Indian ODM, we have a complete reference design, and he has given to an OEM who is doing smart surveillance camera in India. He's selling the smart surveillance camera. So this is one example. We are working with, again, as Mr. Kishore already said, voice recognition and native language support. So just not recognizing English language. India has probably 30, 35 native language. You need to recognize the accent. You need to recognize what the individual is seeking information for, right? So for instance, Samsung launched a washing machine yesterday with the voice recognition in India, right? So in India, he has to support the 35 languages. So again, we have worked with a Bangalore-based company who is one of the AWS certified and Google certified lab who has the complete acoustics. So in order to certify the smart speaker, you need the acoustics lab and also ensure that you have the mic array and the DSP and the algorithms, the native language support algorithms. So what we are trying to do is promote such design partners, promote such ODMs who can enable the OEMs to make an end product so that Mr. Kishore and other government agencies and the smart city deployment, the system integrators, typically could use the solution and go to market quickly. I'm pretty sure Qualcomm is also doing with various ODMs, not just India and globally. So that's the bread and butter for us. So we enable the ODMs and the design houses to provide you the complete solution.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, TR, in the areas that Septon is working with the AI and everything, you guys have a completely different target audience. You're working with maybe Department of Transportation. You're working with lots of rules and regulations, automotive kind of customers. Where do you see your challenges in adoption of AI? There's a lot of R&D that goes into the how easy for it to proliferate down to where the rubber hits the road, literally, with no pun intended, in terms of automotive. But where do you see that? And are you seeing a lot of resistance? Can you just throw some light on the automotive side of the AI portion?
Sure. And if I may, I'd like to also maybe set a little bit of context on how we think about AI.
Okay.
And there's an interesting article written by Professor Michael Jordan from UC Berkeley about a couple of years ago. And he talked about, AI, and he set the context saying AI, as we talk about it generally, he broke it into three categories. Sort of the human imitative AI, right, where the AI is trying to replace the human. Then there's intelligence augmentation, or IA, where it's actually trying to help human activities, not replace them. And then there's intelligent infrastructure, or II, right, where it's trying to take data but convert it into something a lot more useful to make our lives better, right? So when we think about AI, it sort of falls into, it could fall into any of these categories. For instance, some of our applications, I'll use an airport example to start with, given Mr. Kishore's comments. So we recently worked with one of our partners, the Indoor Lab. They've been in the airport space in the US for a long time, crowd management, queue management, a lot of these things. And they deployed a solution with our Lidar as well as our perception software at Orlando International Airport, covering an entire terminal, where for the first time, state-of-the-art continuous statistics on literally everything happening inside that terminal. Number of people, where they are, where they're moving to, how they're moving, how's the space being used. So that's a level of rich detail. A lot of it obtained just, at the edge, right? They use our edge computing or edge perception. So that's an example of one type of solution. In that case, it's a static application, right? The LiDAR is fixed, it's not moving. So the level of sophistication of the application, it could be potentially at the level of II or maybe IA, right? Now, if you go to the other end, which is transportation, where you might either be on a vehicle or sometimes on an intersection, but at a very complex intersection with a lot of pedestrian and traffic activity, you may need sort of true machine learning to augment the algorithms in your solution. And in that case, some of the challenges that you have to deal with are simply that, life is complex. You can't solve your way through just by data labeling and so on. You have to build a lot more intelligence for the system to quickly learn and deal with all kinds of situations. What happens if one vehicle is blocked by a bus and you see a portion of it? How is your perception system going to interpret that, right? Or what happens if someone is walking across the intersection with a shopping cart, which is, how are they going to look to the system? So then you start to bring in the need for more sophistication. So we adapt our solutions depending on the end application.
And how do you, where are you guys in terms of automotive deployments?
Yeah, automotive deployment, we
sorry. Automotive deployment with respect to AI.
Oh, yeah, sure. So with respect to AI, the way we approach it is our primary focus market is actually the ADAS market, right? This is the advanced driver assistance system. So this is not the full self-driving vehicles. In the ADAS market, the level of software required really depends on the automotive customer you work with. Because some of the leading customers we work with, they have their internal teams, in-house teams. And for them, the AI stack, the fusion, etc., is actually part of what they monetize. So they may actually say, just give me the hardware, and a basic level of software, and we'll take care of the complex AI, right? But if a customer needs the full solution, then we'll provide a full AI stack to
end-to-end,
them, right?
and the end-to-end offering, correct?
Correct. But in that case, what happens is you will need to qualify it for their use case, right? For example, when you talk automotive, what is the ADAS use case? Is it a automated electronic braking? Is it a traffic jam pilot? Or is it a highway pilot? Depending on the application, the level of features, the level of validation, all of that varies. And then you have to do that case by case.
Thank you. So, Mr. Kishore, jumping into what TR said, they have a fantastic LiDAR system, and people are getting information on the edge. How does GMR, if tomorrow I come in and say, Mr. Kishore, I'm going to put in with my technology and maybe Raghavan's, startup, and also with the Lidar that Cepton is going to give you, predictive, prescriptive, and preventive analytics and intent-based analytics that I can give you. If I tell you, if a flight is coming from London, Shiva's Regal is bought more than Johnny Walker. If a flight is coming from maybe Dubai, people are buying chocolates more than alcohol. If someone comes and tells you that I'm getting more and more traffic for perfumes from the flight that comes from the Southeast of Asia, how would GMR use that data and go to the retail people and say, you know what, if you're getting a flight coming from Southeast Asia, this is what needs to be on the shelf. Are you doing that? Would you be interested in doing that? And how would you monetize that?
So Sanjay is a very pertinent question, because whether we are doing that, yes, we are doing that. Whether we can improve it further, yes, there is a huge opportunity to improve it further. Like today, forget about the technologies.
Okay.
The data, what we are capturing today, one is to understand the importance of the data. Airports are huge repositories of data. Till recently, we were never appreciating the importance of the data which we have. When we started doing it, even without using technology, like suppose, as you rightly mentioned, a aircraft which is going to a particular destination has a demand for a particular type of product. What we are doing now is we are allocating an aero bridge which is closer to that particular store or a retail outlet. So the preferences of the travelers, be it in terms of retail, food, and also the type of experience what they would like to have. That is one thing. Second thing is, because of the huge computational advancements what we have, they need not physically see the store. So what we are trying to see is, can we give them a virtual store, especially after COVID, where they can always book what they want, block what they want, and that is delivered to their homes. So this is the
Wow.
ultimate objective. Now you need not carry physically the product.
Now,
Okay?
I'll tell you, you've done something smart. If you book an alcohol bottle, then you're departing and you pick it up on arrival, it's cheaper.
That is what we have been doing. In fact, we are giving an incentive. If you book on departure,
Yep,
you get an additional 10% discount. So that's what we're doing. So
exactly.
what I'm trying to say is, airport is a mini universe. And today we are open, like what I mentioned, we have just launched an open innovation platform where any industry, any OEM, any startup can approach us and say that, one, they can say that we see this opportunity, or second, if they know that, if they impress us saying that they have the wherewithal and the talent to develop a particular solution, we will give them the opportunities. Now, one of the main objectives what we are now doing, Sanjit, is basically how do we have a smart airside. The airside is where lots of personal and vehicular movement happens.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is a threat to safety and security, because more human beings, more prone to human errors, intentional or unintentional. So, the ultimate objective now, what we are working is, how do we have smart airside wherein the entire vehicles will be tracked? The vehicular movement will be decided based on the requirement, that is the turnaround of the aircraft. And the ultimate thing is, can we remove away the manually driven vehicles, autonomous vehicles, because it is a set route which a vehicle has to go. So this is a good living lab sort of an opportunity where all those people, because now today autonomous vehicles, smart mobility is one of the major areas where number of startups and number of industries are working. It's still technology under development. So airports could be a good opportunity where you can demonstrate so if you talk about smart mobility, it has all ingredients of artificial intelligence: decision making, pattern recognition, natural language processing, remote control, computer vision. So all the technologies could be demonstrated in an autonomous smart mobility sort of a opportunity. That is one aspect. So we are open. So we are saying that our airports will be like living labs. Not only on the air side, on the land side also, we are developing airport cities. If you know, in Delhi and in Hyderabad, there is a huge landside ecosystem which is getting developed. Especially in Hyderabad, we're developing around 2,000 acres worth of greenfield smart airport city we are developing, which has travel retail, which has hospitality, which has SEZs, free zones, logistics warehousing, and all this entire city, waste management, utilities. So all these things, any new technology, new product, if any startup wants to work with us, of course there will be some filters because I cannot take anyone. We are developing a mechanism where we will select the startups, we'll select the OEMs, we'll select the industry players when we give them an opportunity to demonstrate their technologies, their products before large scale deployment.
I
So
understand.
a living lab sort of a concept is what we are working upon. And just
Okay.
before it goes, I want to also say that AI will go a long way in creating sustainability also, environmental sustainability. Today, we as airports, I'm a governing board member of the World Airports Council International. What we have taken is carbon neutrality in scope 1 and scope 2 emissions of the aviation industry is what we have to work upon. 2050 is what we are targeting. And there, these sort of autonomous electric and computer driven vehicular systems which will bring down the carbon emissions and which will ensure that the carbon neutrality or carbon negative thing happens. Like today, Hyderabad airport has 10 megawatts of solar power plant which supplies to the grid. So that means my terminal doesn't depend on the conventional grid, it depends on the green power. What we have done, the entire 5,500 acres, I'm just slightly deviating from the technology,
No,
but
please do, because this is critical.
find applications in all of these things. Now, what we
Sure.
have done is the entire landscape irrigation. I don't know if someone who would have visited the Hyderabad airport, you have a beautiful landscape the moment you enter the airport premises. The entire thing, landscaping to reduce the water consumption, we have gone for a microprocessor controlled drip irrigation. So again, the AI will come into picture. During which season, what sort of water should be there, what sort of water, so that my consumption of water has come down significantly. Now, what we have done is using satellite imagery, we have identified spots where we can impound the rainwater. Today, I have created a reservoir which impounds rainwater, which can cater up to 3 months of my requirement.
I see.
This is again what I'm trying to say is this has improved the groundwater levels of the neighboring area. Second, my dependence on the public grid, water grid, has come down to that extent. So it is becoming self-reliant, self-sustainable. We have an entire waste management process where the entire tons of waste, human waste, which the passengers and other ecosystem providers generate, we are biodegrading that, and the entire compost which is required for the entire landscaping is being generated through organic manuring. So this is where huge opportunities are there, and AI becomes an essential ingredient of any activity which you will do in future. So that is
Perfect.
where we are open. We will give a platform to the most reliable and most promising startups and industries, and we believe in collaborations and partnerships. GMR
Sure,
is
sir.
for that. So
So,
we're open, and I am sure India will be the one of the leading nations where AI will be deployed on a large scale.
sir, now that you're talking about partnerships, we were talking about partnerships with respect to, private enterprises and coming in. I want to ask a very simple question. Whenever I come in to India, the only thing I want is I need my bags quickly. I want to get out. Whenever I'm leaving India, I want to make sure the immigration is done quickly and I quickly get to the plane. How do you partner with the baggage handling, which is handled by you? How do you give that information? How do you give information to the immigration authorities saying, this is how the crowd management is going to be, this is the peak time? Do they get data from you right now, or would you be willing to share that data with them? How is your collaboration with these entities?
The airport operator is the integrating point of all the stakeholders: airlines, ground handling agencies, customs, immigration, aviation security officials, etc. So what we have done is, as you rightly mentioned, sharing of data is happening now. Especially what we have done is the stress levels of a passenger. If you are a passenger, why do you feel stress when you enter into an airport? That is one, because you may not be conversant with the entire airport layout, where to go, how to go. So one is how do we give dynamic information once the passenger leaves from his home for the first time traveler? There could be a frequent traveler who knows about the whole airport layout and configuration, but still there is stress because one, whether he'll miss his flight, whether his registered baggage is on board or not. So what we are now doing is we have done a pilot use case with SpiceJet, wherein
Okay.
we are ensuring that the every passenger will get a alert on his mobile if he has registered bag. Before he boards the aircraft, he will get an alert saying that your one registered bag is already on board. So this is what we have tried with SpiceJet. Of course, it was with someone who has to log in onto the SpiceJet application. But now with the success of that use case, now we want to do on the GMR Hyderabad Airport portal how you get alerts both for the departing passengers and also for the arriving passengers. So that we are working because there are too many systems with which we should communicate. And this is
Understand.
where I believe blockchain as a technology, which will be very, very useful because when you have too many players who can produce different segments of data and still you want to share, and the trust is required that the data which you have generated should not be tampered by the other stakeholder. I think blockchain will be a very appropriate technology. So what we have done is now we are working with one startup from Hyderabad. Especially if you know, Hyderabad is a major vaccine production city. Almost 40 to 50% of the global vaccines are being produced in Hyderabad, and 70% of the vaccines are produced in India. So what we have done now is, especially with the COVID, because of huge logistics issues of transporting the COVID vaccines all over India and also globally, and
Mhm.
cold chain, the temperature control is very, very important in the pharma products, especially vaccines. So by using blockchain technology, how do we keep tracking the movement of each consignment of the vaccines and also the temperature? This we are working with one of the startups, and so that the exporter knows real time where his consignment, where his box is, and what at what temperature. And similarly, the importer, who is the end user, also will get the real time data. So I'm just giving this example to see that tracking technologies will ensure that the quality of the products will be of the highest quality. And similarly, baggage tracking. I have given the example of cargo, but similarly, applications could be there in baggage tracking where passenger clearly knows where his bag is. So some of the airlines have come out with a RFID tag so that you keep knowing, especially in transit,
Yeah.
globally, when you're traveling international in transit airports, you're really worried whether your bag will get into the connecting flight or not. So these sort of things are happening. And once we have the AI stack and we have a mechanism of acquiring the data and storing it and edge processing, if you get, I think all these applications, it's only the application layer. What we're talking is the application layer. But
Absolutely.
what is the top side sort of architecture which entities have to develop, especially
And
entities like airports, which are multi stakeholder ecosystems. It is very important you acquire data, ensure that the data reliability and data correctness is there, and then store data in an appropriate way so that the computation will be fast, the hot and cold data and the data lakes, and then the analytics layer. That is where, in that analytics layer, is where the artificial intelligence, sort of predictive things, the trend analysis, all those things will come into picture. So what we are working now is, while engaging with the application developers, we are also trying to see whether our architecture has to be changed so that it will be a seamless sort of, anyone can come and plug his application onto the platform, and it will create the impact which is intended, which is supposed to give. So this is where we are working, and we are open to work with any of the partners.
thank you. I'm going to leave 5 minutes for the questions, but before we go, I need a 10-second answer for each one of the panelists. TR, where do you think AI is going to be in 5 years, 10 years from now?
I think my answer is a bit more practical, which is AI is going to be where there is a material benefit to people, right? Whether it's safety, security, health, etc. You have to demonstrate a material benefit. If there is, and it's an efficient way to solve the problem, cheaper, faster, etc., it's going to, like Mr. Kishore said, it's going to be really embed itself in that space.
Thank you. Raghavan, quickly, where do you see your AI in 5 to 10 years?
Finally, AI or smart cities or IoT is for the benefit of the end user, right? So if AI could make individuals' life healthier, safer, comfortable, and convenient in all terms and all aspects, then AI would be a runaway success. So I see AI delivering these needs of the individuals.
Kishore, sir?
I think in 5 years down the line, 5 to 10 years down the line, I think AI would have crept into every aspect of our life without we realizing it. And I'm sure most of the IESA members would be big powerhouses supplying components and processing capabilities and gadgets for the industry. So I wish all the members of IESA all the best. It is a very opportune topic which you have selected, and I should also thank the organizers for thinking that I can contribute in these technical discussions. So I wish all the best for the IESA members.
Absolutely, sir. Don't say that you could contribute. Even if a cup is full with milk, you can always add a lot of sugar. So, as far as my opinion is concerned in AI, I think AI, what today AI is what internet was in 1997, 98, when we were just sending email and just getting on read if mail or just basic stuff. You never imagined that you will be able to order something online and get it delivered the next day. You could never imagine you could be able to see your banking account and transfer money the same day. That's where AI is today. I don't know what's going to happen in 5 to 10 years, but I can tell you we're at a very nascent stage of AI. And if you think this is changing your life, wait for another 5 years. You know, I think we'll all look younger with it. I think we'll all look younger with AI, with algorithms. We better take the snapshot and see ourselves in 5 years and run an AI that we could look 5 years older or younger. All right, so I'll quickly switch to the questions if there are any. I see a few hands up raised. Hariom, any questions? Or if not, we could end on this note. I'll let some of the organizers here, Satish.
Maybe we have questions here. What are the privacy and ethical concerns of using AI in smart cities and how they are being addressed?
Good. I'll let maybe TR, you want to take a stab at that? That's because you guys, you have it on the Orlando airport. How are you looking after that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the privacy element is something we hear a lot increasingly in the last 2 years, right? So in fact, there are many of our partners who have traditionally deployed camera-based solutions are now coming to us saying, no, it needs to be Lidar because there's just, GDPR, that there are a lot of privacy implications. Also on the roads, okay, you can't record license plates when you're recording what's happening in traffic without permission. So the way I see that evolving is that Lidar-based solutions, especially as they get cheaper, which they are, will become more and more mainstream. And there are cases where you need identifying information. Let's say there's an incident. Someone's running too fast or a car's going too fast, going in the wrong direction. The Lidar system is smart enough to send an alert to maybe a camera system to say, okay, record that, because there I do need identifying information, and legally we have a right to collect identifiable information in that case. So I really do see that these technologies can work together very well in the coming years to balance the need for identifiable information where it's critical, where it's safety or security, for example, and then preserve privacy where you can.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a question from the panelists to the panelists saying, which city across the world would be called the smart city on which parameters? I'm a big fan of Singapore. I would say that is a living smart lab. Easy to control, very structured approach. Everything works perfectly. And they've done a lot of effort in terms of citizen enablement and governance. And right from the time you enter the airport till the time you leave, The experience is fantastic. If you're living there, yes, you may feel it's a little bit of a smaller place, but it depends on where you come from. And at the end of the day, I think the enablement across multiple sectors, may it be utilities, power, mobility, transportation, everything seems to be very well orchestrated. Other examples are Korea, Taiwan. Obviously, some portions of India are also coming up, in the own way possible. But, what it was 10 years ago, things are much better today. And thanks to the government for helping with that. I think we'll have one more question before we end on time.
Yeah, we have one more question, Sanjit.
Sure.
What is the wastewater management for water? Finding new water resources is good, but the managing wastewater is one never heard in any form.
Yes. So I think we heard Mr. Kishore talk about how they are using, and biodegrading waste. As far as water is concerned, there's a lot of harvesting of water. There's a lot of wastewater purification plants happening across. Israel is one of the leading countries into that. US also is taking a lot of wastewater and also harvesting water in various forms. So yes, there are applications being deployed across the world, and those water is a very important resource, as everyone knows. Various companies like Euros out of Finland, UROS, they are experts in water management, and we work very closely with them in terms of offering them sensors for connectivity and other Eurosense and Eurosflow that we use. All right, Satish, I think we are pretty much on time. I was told to end on time as we got a little bit delayed. Again, I would like to take this note. Thank you very much, Kishore, Ramchandra, Raghavan, and Satish. Thanks a lot for hosting this and getting it done. I think, as I said, take a snapshot of this 5 years from now when we are at AI Summit. We can run the AI to make us look the same 5 years ago. On that note, have a great night and a great day, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you a lot.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.